the one that is root system, it is present under the soil, and shoot system is the one which is present above the soil. But there are some exceptions, and we saw that there are many roots which are above the ground, and there are some stems which are lying below the ground also. So we saw the exceptions also. So there are many types of roots, like we saw that uproot system, fibrous root system, and adventitious roots. And also under stems, we saw different types, that is branched, unbranched, and also various modifications of the stems that we saw as the underground modifications, and then the aerial modifications about the climbers, creepers, and about the subaerial modifications like suckers, offset. So we saw the different types of modifications of the root and also of the stem. So today we'll see in detail about the leaves. So, actually about the leaves. So what are leaves? What are the main functions of the leaf? So we know that leaf is the main part. It is involved in the photosynthesis. So today we'll see in detail about the morphology of the leaf, that is about the different types of leaf and about the arrangement of the veins in the leaf. So different type of morphological structures of the leaf and how the leaves are modified. So if you take the leaf, so it is a lateral flattened structure born on the stem. So we know that we saw the shoot system with stem and leaves, buds, flowers, and fruits. So the leaf is a lateral flattened structure born on the stem, and it develops at the node. Yesterday itself we saw what is a node and what are internodes. So this is the node, the point of attachment of the leaf to the stem. So it develops at the node and bears a bud in its axil. So it has a bud in its axil. So there is a bud here. And this bud later develops into a branch. So this axillary bud will develop into a branch. You saw two types of bud yesterday itself. One is an axillary bud, the other one is the terminal bud. So if it is present at the terminal end or the apical end, then it is called the terminal bud. If it is present at the axil of the leaf, it is called the axillary bud. And this axillary bud, it may develop into a branch. So this will develop into a branch. And leaves originate from shoot apical meristems and are arranged in acropetal order. So what do you mean by acropetal order? That is, the older ones will be arranged on the lower side. The older leaf will be arranged on the lower side, and the younger leaves will be on the upper or at the end. So the leaves originate from shoot apical meristems and are arranged in the acropetal order. The lower leaves will be arranged on the lower side, and the young or the newly grown leaves will be on the upper side. So they are the important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. So the photosynthesis mainly occurs in the leaf. So what is a leaf? It is a lateral flattened structure born on the stem. It develops at the node and bears a bud in its axil, and this bud later develops into a branch, and they are arranged in acropetal order, and they are the important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. So if you see the leaf, there are three main parts. So what are the parts of a leaf? Of a typical leaf. So it is a leaf base. So this is the leaf base. That is the point of attachment. This is the leaf base, and this is the petiole, and this is the lamina or the leaf blade. So these are the three main parts actually. So here there exists a structure called stipule, and there exists an axillary bud, and this axillary bud then develop into a branch. So these are the main parts of a leaf. So we'll see detail about these parts. So first is the leaf base. So what is the leaf base? So with the help of this leaf base, the leaf is attached to the stem. So here, this is the stem leaf base. So it is, the leaf is attached to the stem with the help of this leaf base, and it may bear two lateral leaf-like structures. So near that, there are two leaf-like structures which are called stipules. So these are the stipules. They are leaf-like structures which are present near the leaf base. So they are the lateral appendages that are present, which are called the stipules. And in monocots, the leaf base expands into a sheath covering the stem partially or wholly. So what does this mean? If you take the monocots, here this is the leaf base, it expands into a sheath. So it is a, normally it is a narrowed structure. In the case of monocots, it expands into a sheath covering the stem. So it covers the stem partially or fully. But in the case of some leguminous plants, in leguminous plants, this leaf base, they become swollen. So here it will be swollen part. So in the case of leguminous plants, so the leaf base may become swollen, and it is called the pulvinous. So this is called the pulvinous. So this is about the leaf base. That is, what is the leaf base? With the help of this, the leaf is attached to the stem, and it may bear the leaf-like appendages called the stipules, and how it exists in monocots and in leguminous plants. So if you take the monocots, it expands into a sheath which covers the stem. But in some leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen, and that is called the pulvinous. So it differs, the leaf base differs in different type of plants, particularly in monocots and dicots. So now we'll see about some types of stipules. So what is a stipule? They are the lateral leaf-like structures we saw. So in different plants, the stipule structure may vary. For example, in some plants, it will be of free lateral, that it will exist as a free lateral independent structure. Some cases, the stipule itself will be like a leaf-like structure. So there are in different plants, the shape or the structure of the stipule varies. So we'll see about some of the modifications of the stipules, or what type of structures these stipules exist. For example, if the leaf is having the stipule, then it is called the stipulated leaf. The first step is stipulated leaf. This particularly occurs in the family of Fabaceae. And there are some leaves without stipules. They are called the X-stipulated leaf. And this occurs in Solanaceae and Liliaceae. And there are different types of stipules, like free lateral, here the example is hibiscus, that it will exist freely, independently. It is present on both the sides of the leaf base, hibiscus. And second one is foliaceous, example pea. So foliaceous in the sense, this will be like a foliar in the sense, it is like a leaf. So if it is like a leaf-like stipule, then it is called foliaceous, and example is pea. And in some cases, it will be spiny, that is in the form of spines, and example is ziziphus. And some cases it is ocreate. So here, how it will look is the two stipules will form a tube-like structures. The stipules will combine to form a tube-like structures. Example is polygonum. Or it may form a tendrilar. That is like a tendril. The example is Milex. So these are some of the types of the stipules that are present in different types of plants. So if the leaves are having the stipule, then it is a stipulated leaf. Mostly it is present in members of Fabaceae, and exstipulate leaf is present in Solanaceae and Liliaceae, and there are different types of stipules based on the structure. So if the stipule is present freely, if it is independently existing, that is called free lateral, and the example is hibiscus. And if it is a leaf-like, example is P, that is foliaceous. And if it is like a spiny, example is ziziphus. And ochreate, that is if the two stipules form a tube-like structure, it is ochreate. Example is polygonum and tendrillar stipules, example smilax. So we saw the leaf base with, that is, we saw the leaf base, and it may bear the two lateral leaf-like structures called stipules. So the structure of the stipule may vary in different plants. Okay, is it clear? So next, we'll see about the petiole. The next part of the leaf is the petiole. So what is the petiole? So this part is the petiole. So what is the role of it? It helps to hold the leaf blade to light. So the movement of leaf is particularly with the help of this petiole. So long, thin, flexible petioles. So as the petiole is long and flexible, it allows leaf blades to flutter in wind so that it is able to move in wind because of the flexible petiole. So if the petiole is so thick and it is in one place, if it can't move, means the leaves will be static in one place. But now the movement of leaf is due to the flexible petioles that are present. So what is the role of the flexible petiole? Thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air to leaf surface. So the main role of petiole is it allows the leaf blades to flutter in wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air to leaf surface. So there is a main role. So, but some of the leaves, it won't have the petiole, then that is called the sessile. When petiole or stalk, in the case of flower, if the stalk is absent, then we'll call it as sessile. In the case of the leaf, if the petiole is absent, it is called the sessile. So sessile, and if the petiole is present, it is called the petiolated or stalked leaf. Petiolated or stalked leaves. So there are two types. One is the petiolated or stalked leaves. If the petiole is present and if there is no petiole, it is called the sessile. And this petiole also varies among different plants. For example, if you take Ecornia, the petiole swells up. There's a swelling in the petiole. And if you take citrus, the petioles are winged. So in different species, the petiole structure also varies. So with this way, actually, it holds the leaf blade to light and is the connecting the leaf blade to the stem. So this is the petiole. And next is the lamina or the leaf blade. So what is lamina? The green expanded part with veins and veinlets. So normal leaf that you're seeing is the lamina. So you would have seen many veins. So these are the veins that are present. So it is a green expanded part with veins and veinlets. The middle prominent vein is called the midrib. So I hope you know all these. This is the midrib. The middle prominent vein is called the midrib, and veins provide rigidity to lamina. So how the lamina is sturdy, or because of the presence of this veins. So they give rigidity to lamina. They act as a channel for transport for water, minerals, and food materials. So just like the veins are present in the human body, these veins, they do the purpose of this channel, or the transport of material is happening through these veins in the leaves. Okay, so what's the role of lamina? So lamina is nothing but the green expanded path with veins and veinlets, and the middle prominent vein is called the midrib, and these provide rigidity to the lamina. They act as a channel for the transport of water, minerals, and food materials. So we saw about the three types, that is three parts of the leaf. One is the leaf base, and second is the petiole, and this is the lamina. Okay, so these are the parts of a leaf. So next we'll see about the venation. So what do you mean by venation? So we saw that in the lamina, there are veins which help in the transport. So venation is nothing but the arrangement of how the veins are arranged. Arrangement of veins and veinlets in leaf lamina. So you would have seen different types of leaves. If you take each and every plant, it will have the specific type of leaf. The shape of the leaf will vary, and also the veins which are present in the leaves will vary. So each and every leaf will have the different type. So generally or broadly, it can be classified into two types. One is the reticulate venation, another one is the parallel venation. So we'll see what is the reticulate venation and what is parallel venation. So what is reticulate venation? Here the veinlets, they form a network. So for example, this is an example for a reticulate venation. So if you see here, this is the midrib, the most prominent vein that is present. And from that there are many veinlets. So these veinlets, they form a network in the case of reticulate venation. So there exists a network in reticulate venation. So in what type of plants this venation is present? It is present in dicotyledons. So dicotyledons, they show the reticulate venation particularly. And here, if you see, take the reticulate venation, again, there are different types. We can take it as pinnate or unicostate. So if you take the pinnate, the main difference here is there will be one principal vein. That is, one main vein will be there, or the midrib, which gives rich. So here, this is the one principal vein. This is the main vein, and it gives rise to many other veins, and it actually proceeds towards the margin of the apex of the leaf. From the petiole, it will always move from the petiole, and it goes towards the apex of the leaf. So in the case of pinnate type or unicostate, one main vein will be present, which gives rise to many lateral or the many veinlets. And there is another type which is called the palmate or multicostate. So here the main difference is there will be many principal veins which are arising from the tip of the petiole, and they proceed upwards. That is, they start from petiole and they'll be towards the apex. So this is the petiole, and if you take the leaf, so from the petiole it goes towards the apex. In the case of unipinnate, there will be only one main vein, but here there will be many veins which originate from the petiole and goes towards the apex. And even in the palmate, there are many types like convergent and divergent. So what do you mean by this convergent and divergent? So if they converge towards the apex from the petiole to the apex, and it is a convergent type. And if they diverge from each other, that is, if they are deviating away from each other, converging means they will all will be going towards, and if they are deviating away from each other, then it is a divergent type. So this is about the reticulate venation. And if you take the parallel venation, so what is the difference between reticulate venation and parallel venation? So this is an example for parallel venation. So here the veins run parallel to each other. So if you take one vein and the other vein will go parallel. So one line, the next line will be parallel to each other within the lamina. So it is seen in monocotyledon. That is one of the main difference. So if you take this parallel venation also, here there are two types like pinnate and palmate. And here also we can see the convergent and divergent. So it is also the same. If it is a pinnate, here there is only one main vein is present. So it goes from the petiole to the apex. And in the case of palmate, there will be many veins that originate from the petiole and goes to the apex. And if they are converging together to the apex of the stem, it is convergent. And if they are divergent, that is away from each other, then it is a divergent type. So these are the different types of venation that are present in the leaves. So reticulate venation and parallel venation. So I hope you're clear with it, right? Then we'll see about the different types of leaves. So what are the different types of leaves that are present? So first we saw the venation based on the type of the arrangement of the veins. We saw the reticulate venation and parallel venation. Now it is the type of leaf, whether it is a simple leaf or a compound leaf. So how are we classifying it as a simple leaf or a compound leaf? And in the compound leaf, again, there are two types. One is a pinnately compound and another one is the palmately compound. So we'll see in detail. So if you take a simple leaf, so this is the structure of a simple leaf. So here the leaf lamina is entire. So the whole leaf is present here, and when incised, the incisions do not touch the midrib. So if you compare these two, so this is a compound leaf and this is a simple leaf. So here this leaf is entire and the incisions do not touch the rib. The midrib is not disturbed even if it is incised. But if you take a compound leaf, so this is the midrib and here many leaflets are formed. So in the case of compound leaves, there occurs the many leaflets that are present in compound leaf. So in the compound leaf, here the incisions of the lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets. So if you take the midrib, it is, so here this is the midrib and here it's break, that is number of leaflets are present in the case of compound leaf. So that is the main difference here. Here it is present as a single leaf. Here many leaflets are present. And a bud is seen in the axil of petiole. So which is a petiole? So this is the petiole. Here the petiole. So where the bud is present? The bud is present here in the axil of petiole in both simple and compound leaf. So here also a bud is present. But where the bud is not present, but not in the axil of leaflets of the compound leaf. So this is the leaflet, but here there won't be any bud. So bud is seen in the axil of petiole here and here, but not in the axil of the leaflet. So there won't be any bud here. Is it clear? So the bud is present in the axil of petiole in simple and compound leaf, but not in the axil of leaflets. So the compound leaves, again, they are of two types. One is a pinnately compound leaf and another one is a palmately compound leaf. So what is the difference between the pinnately compound and the palmately compound leaf? So if it is a pinnately compound leaf, the number of leaflets are present on a common axis. So this is an example for a pinnately compound leaf. So this is the common axis, the central, this is a common axis. This is a common axis and this is called rachis, and which represents the midrib of the leaf. So this is the midrib here. Example is neem. So here number of leaflets are present. So these are all leaflets that are present. And in the case of palmately compound leaf, the leaflets are arranged at a common point at the tip of the tube. So example is silk cotton. So here how the leaves are arranged. They are attached to a common point. So this one point where all the leaves are attached. So this is the palmately compound leaf. But in the case of pinnately compound leaf, the number of leaflets are present on a common axis. So this is the rachis to which many leaflets are attached. Example is neem. Actually, if you observe the leaf around you, we can see variety of arrangements. There is how the leaves are attached to the stem and how the flowers are attached and in what way the flowers are present. Sometimes it may be in the form of bunches. Sometimes single flower may be present. Some flowers may be present in the end. That is at the tip of the stem. So there are several types of arrangement. So you can observe different types of arrangement in different plants. So this is the pinnately compound and palmately compound leaf. I hope you are clear, right? So here the number of leaflets are present on a common axis, but here the leaflets are arranged to a attached to a common point. So okay. Then next is the phyllotaxy. So what is phyllotaxy? It is the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem. So how the leaves are arranged on the stem. That is called the phyllotaxy. Here again we are seeing the three types. One is alternate, the other one is opposite and whorled arrangement. So how the leaves are arranged on the stem. So this is the phyllotaxy. So we say it. So if you take the alternate, how the leaves are arranged here. A single leaf arises at each node in an alternate manner. So for example, if you take this is one node. So here, this is one node and here one leaf arises. And above it, this is one node, here one leaf arises. And this is one node and from here leaf. So how it is arranged? A single leaf arises at each node in alternate manner. So here one, then alternate one, then again here one, then alternate arrangement. So this is the, for each node will have only one leaf. So that is the alternate arrangement. And example is China rose, mustard and sunflower. So these are the examples for alternate arrangement. And then opposite. So what do you mean by opposite? In this, a pair of leaves arise at each node. So from a single node, a pair of leaves arise and they lie opposite to each other. So if you see the arrangement, how it is. This is one node. So here two leaves are present. So a pair of leaves arrives at each node. So for example, from this node, two leaves are formed and they lie opposite to each other. So they will be exactly opposite to each other. So this is opposite arrangement. And example is Calotropis and Goa. The leaves are arranged in the opposite manner. And what do you mean by whorled? In this, more than two leaves arise at a node. So if you take a node, here many leaves are attached here. Here only at one node, one leaf, here one node, two leaves, and here one node, many leaves are attached. So more than two leaves arrives at a node and they form a whorl. Example is Alstonia. So these are the different forms of arrangement of the leaves on the stem. That is the phyllotaxy. It may be either alternate or opposite or burled. Hope you're clear, right? Alternate means single leaf arises at each node. Opposite means a pair of leaves arise at each node and they lie opposite to each other. And burled means more than two leaves arise at a node and they form a burl. Okay. Then we'll see about the modification of the leaves. So how the leaves are modified? They are modified to perform functions other than photosynthesis. We know that the primary function of the leaf is photosynthesis. So other than photosynthesis, they are carrying out some functions. So what are the functions? Some leaves are modified to form tendrils. So the leaves help in climbing. Example, peas. And some leaves, they are modified to spines. Example, cacti. Here, spines. And the fleshy leaves which are present underground to store food. Example, onions and garlics. They are also nothing but the leaves. And there are several other examples like some plants such as Australian acacia. The leaves are small and short-lived. And the petioles, so here the petioles expand and they become green. So normally it is green in color. Only the leaves, they photosynthesize and produce food. But in this case, petioles expand, they become green and they synthesize food. So in different plants, the leaves do different functions. So here the petioles synthesize food and leaves of some insectivorous plants. So in example for insectivorous plants, pitcher plant and Venus flytrap, they are also modified leaves. For example, if you take Nepenthes, that it is a leaf picture. Here the lamina, it is modified into a picture. But in the case of some plants like Decidia, the complete leaf is modified into picture. Modified into picture. The case of Decidia. So leaf picture, here the lamina is modified. Lamina alone is modified into picture in the case of Nepenthes. The complete leaf is modified into picture in the case of Decidia. And in the case of plants like Utricularia, leaf bladder, that is they are modified into bladder-like structures. And there are another thing that is called the phyllodes. So what is phyllodes? Here the petiole becomes leaf-like structure in the case of phyllodes. So here the leaf will be modified to form a picture and the leaf will be like a bladder-like structures. Here the petiole will be like a leaf-like structures. And there are some, in the case of peas, leaflet tendril. That is, leaflet is modified into tendril in the case of pea. And leaflet is modified into hook-like structures in the case of bignonia. So in case of different plants, the leaves are modified to form different structures. That is, it may be modified to form tendril, leaf tendril, or leaflet tendril, or it may be modified to spines. And also in the case of insectivorous plants, they are modified into picture, or it may be modified into bladder, or the petiole gets modified to leaflet form, or the leaflet may be modified to form the hook-like structures. So there are different modifications of the leaves in different types of plants. Okay. So next we'll see about the inflorescence. So first, under leaves, we saw what are the features that we saw in leaves. What is the main function? Then parts of the leaf, that is leaf base, and then petiole and lamina. Phyllodes is actually, it is a modified form of petiole. And if you take cladode, it is almost similar to that of phylloclad. So we saw that day, right? Phylloclad and cladode. Phylloclad and cladode. So here the main difference between phylloclad and cladode that we saw here, what are the changes that we saw? Here the main branch as well as the lateral branches, they will form like a leaf-like structures. Here there will be a main stem and only these things, they form like a leaf-like structure. Only the lateral branches will be like a spine-like modifications in the case of cladode. This is phylloclad. If you take the open shear and all, the main stem and the branches fully will be like a leaf-like. Here there will be a main stem and the lateral stems will be like a leaf-like modification. But if you take the phyllodes, it is the petiole which forms the leaf-like structure in the, this is the petiole area which forms the leaf-like structure in the case of phyllodes. Cladode, actually what is cladode is, here the main stem will be present and the lateral branches will be like a leaf. But here the petiole will be like a leaf in the case of phyllodes. The petiole will be like a leaf-like structure in the case of phyllodes. And this petiole, it functions like a normal leaf in the case of phyllodes. Is it clear? The case of phyllodes, petiole form leaf-like and it behaves like a normal leaf in the case of phyllodes. But here the normal stem will be present in the case of cladode, and these branches, they'll form a leaf-like structures in the case of cladode. So that is the main difference. Clear, right? So now we'll see about the inflorescence. So what is an inflorescence? A flower is a modified shoot. So we saw the full structure of a leaf and flower. So what is a flower actually? It is a modified shoot. So there is a stem, and from the stem there arises flower. So it is nothing but a modified shoot. Wherein shoot apical meristem, it changes into floral meristem. So from the shoot, it forms the floral meristem. So how it is happening? The internodes do not elongate. So in the case of stem, so here there will be many leaves, and here, so this is the internode. So here what happens? The internodes do not elongate and the axis gets condensed. So they reduced, and this apex produces various floral appendages laterally at successive nodes. So when there is a formation of the flower, what happens? Instead of leaves, there occurs a formation of flowers. So when a shoot tip transforms into a flower, it is called the solitary flower. So there are different types of arrangement actually. So we'll see in detail about the inflorescence. So what is inflorescence? It is nothing but the arrangement of cluster of flowers on the floral axis. So how the flowers are arranged, that is the inflorescence. And based on whether the apex get converted to a flower or continues to grow, the inflorescence is of two types. So there are two types of inflorescence. One is the racemose inflorescence and another one is the cymose inflorescence. So we'll see in detail about the different types of this racemose and cymose inflorescence. So what is inflorescence? It is nothing but the arrangement of cluster of flowers. So you would have seen if you take a plant and if you see the arrangement of the flowers, each and every plant will have a specific type of arrangement. Sometimes there will be many flowers. In some cases, there will be only one flower. So there are different types of arrangement. So based on that, there are two types of inflorescence. One is racemose inflorescence and another one is cymose inflorescence. So what is racemose inflorescence? So here in the case of racemose inflorescence, the main axis continues to grow and the flowers are borne laterally in acropetal succession. So acropetal in the sense, the older flowers will be arranged on the bottom and the upper flowers, it is on the upper side, the young flowers are arranged. So actually this is the example for racemose inflorescence. So what can you see here? So if you see the main axis, this is the main axis. So this keep on growing. But what happens here? Here this shows the presence of flowers. So the flowers are borne laterally in acropetal succession. So the older flowers will be arranged here and the younger flowers will be at the upper side. So this is the case of racemose inflorescence. And then if you see, take the cymose inflorescence, what is happening here? The main axis terminates. So here the main axis cannot grow. Here that terminates. So it terminates in a flower. So here there is a formation of flower. Hence it is limited in growth. So it cannot grow further. So how the flowers are born here? In basic petal order. So it is the reverse. What happens? Here the older ones will be at the top and the younger leaves will be at the bottom. In the case of cymose inflorescence. So here if you see all the terminal, here all the flowers are present at the terminal end. But in the case of racemose, the main axis will grow and only the lateral branches will have the flowers. So based on that, these two types of inflorescence. So we'll see some of the different types of racemose and cymose inflorescence. So if you take the racemose inflorescence, the first main type is raceme. So here is actually the main axis is elongated and the flowers are pedicellate. So for example, if you take, this is the main axis, here it is a pedicel and here there will be flowers and here there will be flowers. So example is radish and mustard here. So in some cases, when the peduncle is branched, for example, this is the main axis and this is branched. So this step is called compound raceme or it is panicle. And this is found in NEET. For example, if you see all these arrangement, the main axis, so this is the main axis will continue to grow because it is a type of a racemose inflorescence. So type of a racemose inflorescence, so the main axis will continue to grow and only these lateral branches will have the flowers. So these are the flowers and this is the compound raceme. So this is the simple raceme. Here the main axis is elongated and flowers are pedicellate. That is, they have the stalk. Pedicellate in the sense they have the stalk through which it is attached to the main axis. And the second type of inflorescence is spike. Here also the peduncle in the sense main axis. Peduncle is elongated. So in all these cases, peduncle is elongated because the main stem grows. But flowers are sessile here. So what do you mean by sessile? there is no pedicel. So if this is the main axis, this will grow and it will be directly attached and there is no pedicel, there is no stalk. So this is the flower. This is the spike. The peduncle is elongated, but the flowers are sessile in the case of spike. But in some cases, the peduncle is branched. Here also it may be branched. And the branches best spike-like inflorescence. All the branches will have, so it is branched and all the branches will have spike-like inflorescence. So it may be branched also. Example is grass here. There's a third type which is called catkin. Here the peduncle is thin, long and weak peduncle. And flowers are sessile. And here the example is mulberry. And fourth type is spadix. Here the peduncle is thick, long and fleshy, and they have the sessile flowers. So these are the different types. There is another type that is called the corymb. Here the arrangement will be like the lower ones, the pedicel will be larger and upper ones will be shorter. So here the peduncle is short actually. The main axis is short in the case of corymb type. Peduncle is nothing but the main axis is short. And all the flowers that are present will be at the same level because the lower ones will have the long pedicel. So this is the pedicels or the stalk, and the upper one will have the short pedicel. So the main axis is actually short in the case of corymb inflorescence. And here also there may be compound corymb where everything will have the branches. And there is another arrangement that is called the umbel arrangement. So here the main axis, and from the common point, here there will be many. This is the pedicel and flower. Here. So the pedicel will be almost of same size. In the case of umbel, this is the flower stalk or more or less equal, but they arise from the common point. And this also maybe exists in the form of compound or the branched. So these are the different types of arrangement of the flowers in racemose inflorescence. So on all these cases, the common feature is they are arranged in the acropetal order. That is, the older flowers will be at the bottom and the younger flowers will be at the upper side. And another main feature here is that main axis, it will continue to grow. So it is elongated. So the different types of arrangement are raceme, main axis is elongated and the flowers are pedicellate. And in the case, there are also another example of compound raceme, or which is also called panicle. So here it exists in the form of branches. And spike inflorescence, here the peduncle is elongated, but flowers are sessile. That is, there is no stalk. It is directly attached to the main axis. In the case of catkin, they have the thin, long, weak peduncle, and the flowers are sessile. In the case of spadix type, the peduncle is thick, long, and fleshy, and they have sessile flowers. In the case of corymb type, here the main axis is short, and here the pedicel of the lower branches will be longer, but all the flowers will be of the same height. In the case of umbel, here they arise from the same point. So these are the different types of racemose inflorescence. And if you take the cymose inflorescence, So the main difference here is they are arranged in the basipetal order. That is, the older flowers will be at the top and younger will be at the bottom. And also it terminates, that is, the main axis is terminated by a flower. So here in this type of inflorescence, also different types. One is uniparous. Right. So here what happens is, so here actually it ends in a flower. So there will be lateral branches here. Here one lateral branch. So in the case of uniparous, the peduncle ending in a flower actually produces one lateral branch. It produces, in the case of uniparous, it produces one lateral branch. And all these, in the case of, here there are two types. One is the helicoid type and another one is the scorpioid type. So the main difference here is, so here actually all lateral branches, they develop on the same side, but here there will be of alternate. One will be on one side, the other one will be on the other side. So all these are example for the uniparous stem, but there exists only one lateral branch. But in the case of another type, that is biparous stem, what happens is the main stem actually terminates and there occurs two lateral branches. There occurs two lateral branches and everything, the terminal ends in a flower. Here this one, here this one, here this one. This is biparous, that is, there occurs the presence of two lateral branches. Arises and it also ends, but the main branch or the main axis, it ends in a flower. This is main difference. If you see the racemose inflorescence, we saw that it is elongated, it doesn't end in a flower. So all these are the different types of arrangement of flowers actually. So here there are two lateral branches, and if you take the multiparous, there are many branches. So the main branch, it ends in a flower. And here there will be many branches. There will be and here also there will be many branches. So it is helicoid type because it is in the form of a helix, helical arrangement. So helicoid type. So in the case of zymous inflorescence, so main features are, it is arranged in a basipetal order. And the main axis, it terminates in a flower. These are the main features, and it may be of uniparous, biparous or multiparous. Uniparous means only one lateral branch arises, and in the case of biparous, two lateral branches arises, but the main stem will terminate in a flower. And there are two lateral branches, and if there are many lateral branches and the main stem terminates in a flower, it is multiparous. Under uniparous, helicoid and scorpioid type. If the lateral branches, they are produced flower on the same side, and here it is an alternate arrangement. Okay, is it clear about the different types of inflorescence? So we'll see a few questions. Leaves originate from shoot apical meristem. They are arranged in an acropetal order, or the most important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. Yes, option D is correct. So leaves leaves originate from shoot apical meristem. They are arranged in acropetal order. They are the most important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. Yes, good. Which of the following is correct? The leaf is a lateral, generally flattened structure on stem. A typical leaf consists of three main parts: a leaf base, petiole, and lamina. Stipule is the lateral appendage of leaf base. All. Second question. Yeah, option D is correct actually, because all are correct. It's not B, it is option D. All are correct options. The leaf is a lateral, generally flattened structure. It is correct. It's a flattened structure. A typical leaf consists of three main parts. That is also correct option. It's also correct. And stipule is nothing but it is a lateral appendage of the leaf base. So all is correct. So clear? The next question. Presence of sheathing leaf base covering the stem partially or wholly is the characteristic of certain monocots, fern, cycas, and coconut. So it is the correct option here. Yes, option A is correct. Good. Option A. In the case of monocots. In case of monocots, the presence of sheathing leaf base, it covers the stem. Question. Multifoliate compound leaf or palmate compound leaf is found in tamarind, silk cotton, moringa, and rose. So palmate compound leaf is found in yes, option B. Good. Option B is the correct. It is in silk cotton. The arrangement of leaves on stem or its branches is called phyllotaxy, venation, vernation, and heterophyll. So what is the term for the arrangement of leaves on stem or its branches? Yes, it is option A, phyllotaxy. No, actually it is option A. It is asked as arrangement of leaves on stem. Venation is the presence of veins on the leaves or the leaflets. So the question asked is arrangement of leaves, how the leaves are arranged on the stem. So the A is the correct option here. So is it clear? Palmate compound leaf is the one in which leaflets develop from a common point at the tip of, that is from where the leaflets will develop. For this question, actually, the answer is C. That is petiole. Yeah. Usually, where in the case of palmate compound leaf is the one which the leaflets, they arise from a common point. Here, the leaflets, they develop from a common point, that is from petiole, many leaves will form at a common point. Rachis is actually present in the pinnately compound leaves, where the question here is a palmate compound leaf. So is it clear? So the correct option is option C. Clear? Option C is the correct answer here. So you read the question properly and then answer what is given, whether it is a pinnately compound or the palmately compound, and read the question, understand the question, then answer. Okay. So the leaves are modified into tendrils in Parkinsonia P. ranunculus oxalis. Yes, option B. Good. P, the leaves are modified into tendrils. Racemose inflorescence is identified by acropetal arrangement of flowers and peduncle, presence of sessile flowers, continuous growth of main axis, A and C. So which is the correct option here? Yes, for 8, that is option D is correct. Okay, good. Yes, option D. Because racemose inflorescence is identified by both the acropetal arrangement of flowers and peduncle and continuous growth of main axis. So D is the correct option. Cymose inflorescence is identified by basipetal arrangement of flowers on the main axis, that is peduncle, limited growth of the main axis as main axis terminates in a flower, both A and B, and presence of sessile flower. So which is the correct option here? Yes, option C. Yes, option C is correct because both A and B are correct. So I hope we are clear with this, right? About the structure of the leaf and also about the inflorescence. So any doubts in this? Clear? Okay, just go through this, and if you read, it will be much more easy for you to study the examples. So if different types of inflorescence and what are the examples that comes under the category, and also different types of modifications, what are the example? Just go through it. Okay, so no doubts, right? So tomorrow we'll continue with the flowers, about the floral parts and how they are arranged. Like, okay. Okay, then thank you.